My sister poured red wine all over my dress during my wedding reception, flipped over my gift table and screamed, "Today everyone is finally going to see who you really are." Instead of stopping her, my parents said she's just emotional. Forgive her. I smiled quietly. That same night I canceled her $42,000 college tuition payment, removed my guarantee from her car loan, and took my name off her apartment lease at exactly 7:12 the next morning. She was screaming, "How did you destroy my entire life in just one night?" My sister dumped red wine across my white wedding dress during my reception, shoved the gift table over with both hands and screamed, "Today everyone is finally going to see who you really are." The entire ballroom fell silent. Then came the sound of shattering glass. One of the gift boxes burst open as it hit the floor. A silver picture frame slid out and came to rest beside my shoes. Red wine spread across the front of my dress while the white satin slowly transformed into a deep shade of pink. My sister Madison stood directly in front of me. An empty wine glass hung loosely from her hand. "Everyone thinks she's perfect," she shouted. "But today they'll finally find out what she's really like." My mom rushed toward her. For a second I thought she was going to stop Madison. Instead she simply said, "Maddie honey, that's enough. You're just very emotional." My dad walked over to me. He looked at my ruined dress, then back at Madison. "Emily, she's just emotional. Forgive her. Don't make tonight any worse than it already is." I stared at him. "I'm the one who's going to make it worse?" Mom lowered her voice. "The guests are watching. They just watched her throw wine on me. You're the older sister. You can understand." Madison laughed. "Exactly. Emily always understands. Emily always handles everything. Emily always saves everyone." My husband, Daniel, immediately came to my side. He took off his suit jacket and held it in front of me, trying to cover the stain on my dress. "Emily, let's go upstairs." Madison pointed directly at him. "Ask her whether she actually loves you or if you're just another accessory that fits into her perfect little life." Daniel's voice turned cold. "You need to leave. Right now." Dad stepped in. "Daniel, don't escalate this." Daniel turned toward him. "I'm escalating this?" Mom crossed her arms. "She's your sister-in-law. And Emily is my wife." Madison threw the empty wine glass onto the floor. "She always wins. Always." Then she stormed out through the ballroom's side entrance. Mom started after her, but I stopped her. "Did you know she was planning to make a scene tonight?" Mom gripped her clutch with both hands. "She's been upset for the last few days." "Why?" "Emily, not right now." "Because I told her she couldn't give a speech?" Dad interrupted. "We'll discuss this later." Mom looked away. That told me everything I needed to know. They knew Madison intended to do something. Maybe they hadn't known about the wine, but they had absolutely known she planned to humiliate me. Our reception coordinator, Jasmine, hurried over. "The bridal suite is ready." I followed her upstairs. Daniel came with me. One of the assistants tried cleaning my dress using club soda and white towels. The stain faded a little, but it refused to disappear. Daniel stood by the window. "We can end the reception." "No. We can leave right now." "No. Emily, you don't have to keep managing everything." I looked at myself in the mirror. If we leave now, this is the last thing everyone will remember about our wedding. "So what do you want to do?" "I'm going back downstairs. We're cutting the cake. We're having our first dance. The father-daughter dance is cancelled." Daniel nodded. "And tonight?" I set the towel soaked with club soda back onto the table. "Tonight I'm taking back 3 financial commitments." "Which ones?" "Madison's college tuition. My guarantee on her vehicle. And my guarantor agreement for her apartment." Daniel studied my face. "You're serious?" "Completely." We returned to the ballroom. The music had started again, but everyone was still watching us. Jasmine handed me the microphone. I stood at the edge of the dance floor. "I'm sorry for the interruption," I said. Apparently, red wine was included in tonight's family entertainment package. A few guests laughed awkwardly. "Dinner will continue as planned. We'll cut the cake in 10 minutes. Our staff is safely relocating the gifts. Thank you all for staying." I handed the microphone back. Mom immediately walked over. "You didn't need to make a joke. You needed to stop Madison. She's your sister. You've said that several times tonight." Dad sighed. You're upset. No, I answered calmly. Right now I'm thinking more clearly than ever. The reception continued. Guests came over one by one, hugged me and quietly said, I'm so sorry. Every time I simply replied, thank you. We cut the cake. Daniel and I shared our first dance. The father-daughter dance never happened. Dad looked toward me once, but he never walked over. At 11 o'clock that night, we arrived at our hotel suite. Daniel kicked off his shoes and sat down on the edge of the bed. Are you really going to do all of this tonight? I opened my laptop. For the past 2 years, I've been carrying her financial responsibilities in my name. I logged into my accounts. Tonight that ends. Madison was 4 years younger than I was. I was 34. He was 30. Growing up, Mom always insisted that Madison needed more attention. When I completed my school projects on my own, everyone would simply say, Emily is independent. When Madison forgot an assignment, Mom emailed her teacher to explain. When I earned a full college scholarship, Dad smiled proudly and said, we always knew you could do it. When Madison dropped out of community college, Mom defended her. She's still trying to figure out what she wants. The problem was that her path almost always seemed to run through someone else's credit card, lease agreement or financial guarantee. 3 years earlier she had enrolled in a nursing program. Mom called me. Emily, her tuition is incredibly expensive. What about financial aid? It isn't enough. Can she work part-time? Mom let out a long sigh. She won't be able to handle classes and a job at the same time. The first semester required $14,000. Then came textbooks, lab fees, uniforms, licensing expenses and countless other costs. By the time I added everything together, I had paid $42,000 toward Madison's education. I could remember her thanking me only twice. Both times Mom had reminded her to do it. Then her car broke down. She walked into a dealership, fell in love with a brand new SUV, and discovered that she couldn't qualify for the loan. Dad refused to co-sign because his credit score was already damaged. Once again Mom called me. They just need a guarantor. Madison will make the payments herself. Can she actually afford them? She needs a dependable vehicle for school and work. Madison made the first 3 payments. The 4th payment arrived late. I covered the 5th. Then I covered the 6th. Before long, the automatic payments were quietly coming out of my own bank account. A few months later there was another emergency. This time it was an apartment. The property manager required a guarantor before approving her application. Mom told me it would only be for 1 year. I signed the paperwork. 2 months later, Madison's roommate moved out unexpectedly. Not long after that, the rent problems started landing on my desk too. Daniel had warned me once. You're not helping her anymore. What do you mean? You're protecting her from consequences. She's my sister. Exactly, he replied. That's why this cycle keeps repeating. 6 weeks before the wedding, Madison invited me to brunch. She barely looked up from scrolling through her phone. So, she asked casually, how long can my speech be at the wedding? You're not giving one. She laughed. Very funny. I'm serious. She finally looked up. Daniel's brother and Rachel are giving speeches. That's it. Her smile disappeared. So I'm not the maid of honor and now I don't even get to make a speech? You didn't want to be a bridesmaid. You called the dress ugly. It was ugly. Madison. Fine. Then I'll just make a quick toast. No. She set her phone on the table. You're afraid of what I might say. No. Then why not let me speak? Because I know you'll make it about yourself. You always assume I'm jealous. I never said you were jealous. You didn't have to. She stood up before either of us had finished eating and walked away. After that brunch, Mom's messages began arriving almost daily. Please let your sister say a few words. Don't leave her out. It would mean so much to her. Every single time I politely refused. 1 week before the wedding, Dad stopped me in the driveway outside my house. Just give Madison 5 minutes. No. You're being stubborn. The timeline is already finalized. Dad folded his arms. You always have to control everything. It was the exact same accusation Madison repeated every chance she got. Back in our hotel suite, I logged into the university's payment portal. The scheduled tuition payment was waiting. $14,000. My cursor hovered over the cancel payment button. The screen asked me to confirm my decision. Daniel stood quietly behind me. Do it. I clicked confirm. Next I called the auto lender. The representative explained that I couldn't simply remove myself as the co-signer overnight, but I could immediately stop the automatic payments from my personal bank account. If Madison couldn't refinance the loan on her own, the lender would eventually require her to surrender the vehicle. I disabled every automatic payment connected to my account. Then I opened my email. I wrote a message to Marcus, the attorney who had handled my previous contracts. I asked him to send Madison a formal notice first thing the following morning regarding my financial obligations. The apartment was much simpler. The lease renewal wasn't due until the following month. I declined to renew my guarantor agreement and emailed written notice directly to the property management company. At 12:34 a.m., all three decisions were complete. Daniel looked at me. Tao what? I closed the laptop. Now we finally get some sleep. I thought the hardest part of the night was over. I had no idea the following morning would reveal something even worse. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way to the end. If it touched you or kept you engaged, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. Your support truly means a lot and helps us continue creating new content. See you in the next story.